Hello everyone, Richard here at Calvin Wazoo, where we all can sing that we're glad to be gay and sing that we're happy that way. It's another recent finds video, number 39, and it's a bit of a spread in terms of different musical genres, and also a record, a vinyl record of something I've had on CD for quite a while that I've been trying to get on vinyl. Finally did, yes. So we'll be getting to that. And first though, I'm going to start off with something that is, I guess you could call it modern classical electronic. And it's this one, Kshatrya by Igor Wakhevitch. All right, the Eye of the Bird is I suppose the English subtitle. This was a 2019 release, but the interesting thing is this was recorded in 1999, but was not released until 2019. I initially, I saw this, I can't remember where. It might have been a YouTube video or something like that, but I saw the cover and I thought, wow, this cover is kind of interesting. It has this obi strip that comes with it. But yeah, so I gave it a listen on YouTube and really liked what I heard. And so I ordered it. And then when I got this vinyl copy and listened to it, I really like it now. So Igor Wakhevitch was classically trained and worked with Salvador Dali, had associations with Jean-Michel Jarre, Pink Floyd, in particular with David Gilmour. So here's another person, who, got along with David Gilmour, and, and I'm just more and more aligning with David Gilmour, and also just kind of like Roger Waters is, anyway, but also he had associations with the Soft Machine and, other artists. He spent roughly 30 years in India, and he recorded this in 1999. But then didn't do anything, but it had a lot to do with the theme that's going on here, had a lot to do with his experiences from India. And then he learned that his maternal grandmother had been deported to Auschwitz-Birkenau in September of 1942. So that prompted him to resurrect this project. He made some minor tweaks to it and then released it. So it's the music is ethereal and dark and momentous, I guess would be another word that I would use for it. Do a needle drop from it. This is from the opening track, Love Song to Ekalavya. Kind of a, I don't want to say orchestral, but it is modern classical, in that sense. And he was also one of the early pioneers in electronic music and using various instruments or computerized devices for creating music. I've listened to some of his other material, particular Dr. Faust, but fortunately there's a repress because the OG is selling, or the price right now is like around $400. But the represses aren't cheap either. They start at around $50. But anyway, yes, this is a really fantastic record. My copy has some issues with stitching. So the pressing, I'm not sure. I think the pressing in general is really good, but I do have that experience with some of the stitching sound, which is kind of like if you're familiar, it's when you hear this, it's almost like kind of like static, but there's nothing on the record. No cleaning will remove it. There's no observable blemish that may be causing it. But yeah, it's something that happens during the pressing process, and it's really quite annoying, when you get a brand new record that otherwise sounds, perfect, except for that pressing flaw. Anyway, the next one, this has been on my want list for a while. And the Gunkles, we did a review of Totem 3. There's also, I have a copy now of Totem 2, and now I have the first one in this series from the Master Musicians of Bukkake, Totem 1. And yeah, I found a US vendor who had it. There were other vendors in Europe, but you see, so many times in that case, unless it's a really, really good price, or a record that I just figure I'm not going to be able to get any other way, or if it's an expensive record anyway, so I'm going to be paying that shipping. Yeah, the shipping costs from Europe can be as much as what you're paying for the album. So seeing that a US vendor had a mint copy, it was sealed, that's when I decided to get this. Now, this is a 2009 album, original, that was pressed in Belgium. And when I say this, I mean the album. This particular record is a 2012 reissue that was pressed in the US. The repressing sounds excellent, but the label was lazy, in my opinion, in terms of including other information that was with the original release. And this happens with other, repressings of difficult to find albums that are quite rare. And so they do a repressing, but then, liner notes and things like that don't get part of, don't become part of the pressing. So what we have here is, the cool cover and all that. It's still there. And then, it has the sash obi, which obi means sash. But that's it. There's no other, no other liner notes, no other information to go with this. It's just this black paper sleeve. So it's not an expensive repressing, but come on, if you're gonna repress an album, let's have, it doesn't even list the band members, the performers, who did the production, who was the sound engineer, like information that was included with the original release. That's, to me, that's just lazy. I don't know what the problem is with that. And sometimes it makes me even wonder if this is a legit, repressing, if this wasn't if it wasn't unauthorized. And that's why it lacks that information. I don't know. The music, however, is really quite good. This series, Totem 1, Totem 2, Totem 3, has a general format that begins with a bardo, which in Tibetan Buddhism is that realm between life and death when you are preparing, your journey into, the afterlife or to your next life. And then it goes through the various stages. And this has some, it's mostly instrumental, but it does have some vocals on a couple songs, including the A-side closer, People of the Drifting Houses, has some vocals. I have no idea what they're saying, but it's really quite mesmerizing in chanting in terms of delivery. The final track on the record, Eagle Wolf, has some serious chanting and shrieking going on that's really, really, really good. It just has this tremendous intensity to it. And then it finishes with the sound of waves, I'm presuming ocean waves. Having listened to all three of them, I think this is the strongest one. I guess, sometimes when a band releases a sequence of albums, of semi-related albums, often the first one is the best one and the other two can be really quite good, but, that's kind of how I feel. The other two are really, really quite good. But this one I feel is the best one. I'm going to need to listen to it some more, but it's really good sounding pressing. So all around very good. I'll give you a needle drop here. It is from the track titled A Mist of Illnesses. That is the second track that comes after the opening bardo, Chikai. So, it begins with this, it's a journey. It's a journey from life to the afterlife, and the process that we go through, supposedly, and how easy it can be to lose your way, through these transitional phases. Very, very cool stuff. They always have some really incredible artwork to go with this particular series. So that's at the Master Musicians of Bukkake, Totem 1. This was the 2012 reissue U.S. pressing. All right. Now, here's the record that I've had on CD for a long time, and I am so happy now that I have it on vinyl. And that is this one here. This is Villagers, Awayland. I've had the CD since the CD was released, which was in 2012. The vinyl was released in 2013. But yeah, it was primarily vendors in Great Britain and other places in Europe, but mostly Great Britain. And so, yeah, shipping was always a deal, and it just took me a long time to finally find one. Here, this does have a free download card. So you can pause, and if you happen to be the first, yeah, Conor O'Brien, an Irish singer-songwriter. This is like indie folk. Really, really solid release. Now, This is his second release, the sophomore release after his debut, Becoming a Jackal, which is an amazing and fantastic album as well. I have that on vinyl and CD as well. This is a really strong one. You know, I would say with these two Villager releases, we're talking about the releases. You know, when you talk about, for example, the Cars, the first two records, you know, being really solid, and the second one potentially being better. This, I would say, is a better album in many respects than Becoming a Jackal, and Becoming a Jackal is an absolutely stunning album. This one is a different sound. That's another thing I like about Conor O'Brien, is that he brings each album and then the songs within each album. While the themes are often very common, the songs and presentations are very they're different and provide variety. The song Waves, I love that there's this, he's introducing synthesizer in this album, which he wasn't using in Becoming a Jackal. And yeah, I love that like beeping that's going on, you know, throughout the song. And, you know, he's singing about these waves that are, you know, both ocean waves, but everything else, you know, in the world of light and sound, you know, coming to us in waves. Nothing Arrived was a single, and there's a video that's got roughly 2 million views over the past 11 years. Love that song. I love the piano riff. I love everything about it. It is really a catchy song, and he has a lot of very catchy songs, but the lyrics are just really quite amazing. There's the Grateful song on here is another one. I love the line, "And I am thankful for the misery from which I stole this grateful song." Just really good stuff. A lot of his songs in a metaphorical and also a very clever way, is he's interweaving religious themes. I mean, we're talking Ireland, Roman Catholicism, church is a very big influence. And, you know, so he'll sing about the way people twist themselves in terms of trying to accommodate Catholic teachings and as a result, kind of miss out on life. And so a lot of the songs are like that. The needle drop, excuse me, I'm gonna play for you is called Judgment Call. We gotta keep the wheels in motion, and we gotta get the kids before they grow. God forbid they redeem their sense of wonder. Their sense of wonder. Their sense of wonder. Now I don't need to think for myself. No, I don't need to think at all. When the deep says go, I go. It's a judgment call. It's a judgment call. No, we don't need to think for ourselves. No, we don't need to think at all. When the school says go, we go. It's a judgment call. It's a judgment call. I believe this. You can, you know, hear that there's a bit of, with the portion of the lyrics that you hear, you know, he's singing, there's a little, you know, how people kind of twist things, you know, in terms of their interpretation of reality around them. And the twisting is coming from them trying to retain a connection with their faith. And that's what distorts everything instead of just being. And it, you know, In a Newfound Land, You Are Free, you know, is really quite a beautiful song being sung to an infant. Yeah, it's just, I would, I would say that Conor O'Brien is the Bob Dylan of the 21st century. His lyrics are very, very astute, very creative in the subject matter, and musician-wise, and in the music, the compositions that Conor O'Brien does and creates are really, really incredible. I've enjoyed all his releases. Don't have all of them, but I have quite a few of them. So yeah, Villagers, Awayland, the CD, and the record. One was released in 2012 and the other was released in the vinyl in 2013. Okay, now the next one, so set this aside here, is another musical artist that I have been collecting. Everything that I find and encounter, don't always see it, and it's usually reasonably priced. Not necessarily a very sought after artist, and that is Anohni and the Johnsons. And the album is My Back Was a Bridge for You to Cross. This was released last year, July of 2023. So this album, in fact, it'd been quite a while. I think it was, let's see, this is the first record that the Johnsons released since 2010. The first record also of Anohni since her 2017 EP, Paradise. So it'd been a while. Now, you've got Marsha P. Johnson on the cover here, and putting Marsha P. Johnson on the cover is making a statement, as Johnson was a trans activist and the source of the band's name, the Johnsons. And it was also somebody that Anohni knew. So earlier iterations of the Johnsons, it was Anthony and the Johnsons, Anthony Hagarte, being the front person. And she changed her name to Anohni, and roughly, I think, perhaps to 2010, that was when she was going with Anohni and the Johnsons as opposed to Anthony and the Johnsons. And under her name, Anthony, she was using the pronouns they and them. But with what was going on in the country, in the United States at the time, she saw this rise in right-wing politics, and also an increase in anti-LGBTQ violence and also legislation. And so she decided to go with the name Anohni, and then also adopt her pronouns to be more direct and make a statement, as opposed to, and this is just her, as I understand, this was just her thought process or her reasoning. This is not to say that people who wish to use they, them pronouns should pick one or the other. That was just something that Anohni felt that she had to do, needed to do, so that she could address the hate that has been going around. Just a side note about Marsha P. Johnson. She died in 1992. Her body was found in the Hudson River in 1992, and at the time it was ruled a suicide. But many activists put, pressure, and eventually the New York police have reopened the case as a homicide. But I don't believe there's been much progress made with that case. And Johnson had also been, it is Pride Month, Johnson had been credited with being among the original rioters from the Stonewall Inn. However, she's denied that. She was someone who frequented the Stonewall Inn, but she has said that she was not there the night that the rioting began. So, yeah, the songs, you've got It Must Change, the opening track is just this very, very direct statement to right-wing forces and the hate that they breed and spread. But she artfully shows how this hate infects our community with dread and anger. So this, she's pulling no punches with this record. And some of the songs are a little bit, I don't want to say unthought or not thought through, but they're bursts of this creative energy and anger and retorts to what's going on. So they're not necessarily as refined as maybe some of her other material, but her voice throughout the record is really quite incredible on many of the songs. The song Sliver of Ice was actually inspired by a conversation that she had with Lou Reed just before he died, as he was telling Anohni about the sensations that he was feeling when he would put like an ice cube in his mouth, and how, intense and delightful that experience was. So she's put that into a song. Can't is a song on here that can be open to some interpretation, but the ending to me is a very forceful rebuttal against the negative politics that brings death to people within our community. It's, remember the ACT UP slogan, silence equals death. And so this also, by the way, if you want to pause to get that, you can also get the download for that. And then there's an interesting insert that comes with the record. Let me pull this out. I'm not sure what. All right, so there's a lyric sheet, okay, for all the songs. It's quite nice. But then there's this, like, I'm not sure what that is. You know what it reminds me of, though? It reminds me of that orc in The Return of the King. That was like kind of the leader. He was the one who takes a spear and stabs it into the chest of one of Faramir's captains. He was also the orc. He kind of walked with a limp, dragging a leg. When the army of Gondor is using a trebuchet to fling giant rocks at the army of orcs, there's one coming at him. If you remember the scene, he sees it coming, but he doesn't move, and then he steps away at the last minute for it to land next to him. That's kind of what it reminds me of, but to be quite honest, I still don't know what it is. I mean, I kind of see a face here, but anyway. Yeah, there's some photos in here that are probably not PG, so I'm not going to show them, but a nice insert that goes with the record. And then the needle drop I will play for you is the song Why Am I Alive Now? So Anohni's newest release from last year, from 2023, My Back Was a Bridge for You to Cross. Really excellent, really excellent. And then the final one here is a 12-inch single, so there's not really very much to look at, but it's Khruangbin, and it's the 12-inch single from 2021 Pelota. And yeah, I'm going to be seeing Khruangbin tonight here in Chicago. It'll be very cool. In fact, this is the third of 3 nights that they're playing here in Chicago. So yeah, this is a 12-inch single. Side A is the song Pelota, which has this very, very cool dance beat and Latin rhythm. Really, really like that. Side B is the song Time, You and I, and that has a really funky groove. I mean, I almost like that one better than the title song on side A. In fact, my needle drop is going to be that side B song, Time, You and I. Really like that funky groove going on with this. And there was a series of 12-inch singles, remixes that Khruangbin released. If you're unfamiliar with them, they're a Texas band that trio, largely kind of psychedelic instrumentals for the most part. They have some songs that are that have lyrics to them. And I have most of their releases, but not all. If I exclude the 12-inch singles, I mean, that's the only one I have. And as I say, there's several. There's like 5 or 6 of them that they released. But I have most of their LPs, and I'm very excited to be seeing them tonight. That will be so cool. So there you have my recent finds. For this episode number 39. Hey, leave a comment in the down under. I really enjoy getting those comments. And remember that you can also follow me on Instagram, where my handle is newsdude76. That's NEWZDUDE76. I have a Facebook page called Calvin Wazoo, where I post these videos as well as other music-related videos and content. And hit the like button. I appreciate that when you all do that. If you haven't subscribed, you know, you want to. But remember to pray for the people inside your head, for they won't be there when you're dead.